This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and this is a review of something that I know that just dropped yesterday, and I've only seen segments of it, but I wanted to share it with you guys and watch it for the first time. And this is the Piers Morgan's interview with Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn as they discuss their rescheduled match to take place. Okay. And of course, you guys, if you haven't heard, it got pretty heated. You know, the overall back and forth between Chris and Conor. You know, the Benn Eubank rivalry will always be something that now is stamped and engraved, and it's still being written in British boxing history. Okay. And I want to view it, review it, counterpunch it, so we can see it all together. As soon as we have enough people piled up in here, we can watch this and listen along to see what happens in this particular interview. Okay, because a lot of things are said. You don't have any running interference no more. You don't have, you know, Shalom involved. I've already watched it. Cool. I have not, and I purposely didn't watch it simply based on the fact that I wanted it to be authentic. You know, like sometimes, you know, you can watch something and then it's already watched, so you don't get the real true, you know, reaction from it. Aaron Edson, top of the morning, Aaron. Counterpunch to you, bro. Counterpunch to you. When you guys come in, hit that like button, donate $5. I need a beer because it's hot down here. We'll watch it again with you. That's what I'm talking about. Or is it a day? Right? Cool. All right. So I know Turkey Al-Sheikh reposted it on the Ring magazine, which was cool. So, you know, you got another outlet. There we go. Cool. And it got heated for a while, hour and 4 minutes. So you guys got time. Let's do it. You know, let's get to it. I'll be counterpunching as I go. Okay. And if you guys are ready, let's start the show. Ash Bar, counterpunch to you, bro. Morning. Tree, what's good, my brother? Everything's good, Tree. Counterpunch to thee. Bars. Yeah, Piers Morgan, man. You know, you guys know who Piers Morgan is. Everybody knows Piers Morgan. You know what I mean? From across the pond to across the pond. You know, they know Piers. You know, because I mean, if you know, everyone knows him.
We'll find you.
So let me turn on my mega boom. Wilder versus Andy, still a fight, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I think at this point, those guys are just, I think they're at their point where I think if they fought each other, they're not big enough for each other at this point to make that fight really something. You know, it could have happened 2023 when it's supposed to happen, but I don't see that fight happening because they need someone that's going to be worth them putting things on the line. Andy Ruiz hasn't fought since when? Last year? And then he broke his hand. He broke his hand on the head of Jarrell Miller. That shows you something about the durability of the big boned Miller. But anyhow, yeah, I don't see that happening. I really don't see that happening, honestly. Austin Spears, I think AJ and Miller would be a good fight since that was supposed to happen a while ago. just had a draw with Andy. In my opinion, he won it. AJ does well that could send a message to Dubois. Well, listen. And I'm going to say this, and you know, people might look at me crazy for saying it, but it's going to be said. Someone like Jarrell Miller at this point for AJ is a challenging fight because, for one, we don't know what AJ's will fight. We don't know which AJ is going to show up. So you never know that. You know, he's done the training, he's done the hard work, he's done this, you know, I trained hard, you know, and all this, but then you don't know what person will really show up. You know what I mean? Maybe just Daniel was just too much for him on the night. I don't know. But I can tell you this, someone like Jarrell Miller, he should beat Jarrell Miller. But that doesn't mean he will beat Jarrell Miller based on the uncertainty of who we don't know will show up. Because AJ's like, I mean, I don't know if he was looking, maybe that Francis Ngannou fight did something to him. I don't know, bro. But maybe it gave him too much confidence. Maybe Ben Davison probably, filled his head up too much. You know, and you might say he didn't, but more than likely he did. You know, ever since the Otto Weiland fight, it was building. And it was like, oh, I spontaneously found me a new trainer. Well, did you really, though? Or did you find someone that already knew you were good, but never didn't teach you anything, but at the same time, pumped your head up? You know, so you have to ask those type of questions, man. Let's just be real. Let's just be real about it. So wonder what Usyk's thoughts are regarding the WBA's fight order. That is a very good question. A very good question, Aaron. Ron. No, seriously, I think that's a very good question. I just wonder what they're going to do, what the WBA is going to do. And I have another video later in the evening to drop concerning that. So, you know, but first things first, let's get to the rivalry. Let's get to the interview. When you guys come along in the trenches, inform them we are doing the full live interview, and let's go.
You shake this prick for any eggs?
I don't need eggs, my friend. These fists are more than enough.
I'm just getting my makeup done, so probably not conducive with two pugilists.
I hate what he stands for. I hate what he did. Failing these 2 drugs tests is unacceptable.
No ban, clear to fight, no fine. That's one thing. I don't care if it's good.
But that is true.
Was there drugs in your system?
Maybe not. None of your business. I think he's an absolute idiot, but big head. Even your dad don't like you. That's an accomplishment.
What was he slap you right now? Stop mumbling about it. A little push and shove. That's a massive effect. How's that disrespect?
You can't give it and not take it.
Sport means the world to many people. The athletes sacrifice everything to be the very greatest. The fans see a punishing battle against pain and adversity that somehow, in just hours or minutes, seems to mirror the whole mission of life itself. And every once in a while, on the very rarest of occasions, it feels even more important than all of that. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn is not just a boxing match, it's a family feud, a bit of rivalry, a story of shame, of scandal. 35 years ago, their fathers, Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn, fought the first of their legendary title battles. Now, after years of delay, Eubank Jr. and Benn will finally face off. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, is at London's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on April 26th. It's the first ever boxing card from the iconic Ring magazine, the Bible of boxing for more than a century. And before they face each other in the ring, they're going to face each other tonight in the Uncensored studio. I'm delighted to welcome Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Well, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I've been watching the press conferences that happened, and there's real hatred here. I've interviewed a lot of boxers. I've rarely detected such a palpable loathing that people have for each other as you two do. That's why we've got 2 security guys here. I wouldn't normally have that for an interview, but we were advised by your teams that we should do that in case you start hitting each other. I simply make a plea to you that I know you've done stuff that has played out in the way that it has. I hope we can have a proper conversation about what is an extraordinary moment in British sport when you two fight. I was around in newspapers when your dads fought. They were two of the biggest fights that anyone can remember. I've interviewed them both, and I know the rivalry and I know the family history, but I hope for the purposes of this interview, we can get through it in a civilized way, and that you both feel you get something out of it. Let me just ask you both, and there's no particular order here, but Conor, when you think back to your dad and the fights that he had against Chris Eubank Sr., you weren't even born when that happened, but what memories do you have of the aftermath and the rivalry?
Well, I mean, it captured the imagination of the public. It was a fight in an era, a generation where it was heavily spoken about. It was one of the biggest fights of all time. There was 18.5 million viewers, you know. So, yeah, it was a massive rivalry with two big personalities, two big styles, people invest in character, and you know the characters were off the charts.
Did it instill in you this feeling that you have for Chris Jr.?
No, not at all. I mean, at one stage, it was looking impossible. It wasn't even a fight that was on our radars. You know, I'm a 147 fighter, he's a 160 fighter, and our paths just happened to cross. You talk about the stars align. You can say that.
Chris, for you, I mean, I've interviewed your dad at length, and
let me stop right there. Let's talk about the legacy for a minute. The legacy of Eubank versus Benn. 18.5 million people saw that fight. I mean, that's the television numbers. That's not the replays or, you know, the amount of times it spent on YouTube. There was no YouTube, okay? And keep in mind, since there was no YouTube, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, there was no social media. This fight was still able to do those type of numbers, shows you the importance of the fight. It's almost like the significance of an album like Thriller with Michael Jackson. What made it at the time, 1982, 1983, what made it that popular was the fact that word of mouth, human interaction, and overall common interest of what people liked and wanted and loved about a particular thing. In this case, you got Nigel Benn taking on Chris Eubank Sr. in the 90s, okay, a long time ago, right? And you didn't need all this stuff that we have today. We are very spoiled people. Everything is right there in front of our faces, in front of our mobile, smart devices and all this, touch screens. We have it all at the tips of our fingers. They did not. And it shows you those numbers still did those numbers based on what they didn't have. Okay, you heard about, hey man, you hear Chris Eubank Jr. is taking on Nigel Benn. No, Nigel Benn, right? So yeah, it was a different time, and it just shows you though the significance of what those guys stood for and how massive that fight was at the time. Then of course they produced, you know, offspring, and now here is, needless to say, the offspring. So let's continue.
He had some extraordinary fights, not just with his dad, but with people like Michael Watson, who ended up in a wheelchair. I was ringside when Nigel Benn fought Jeremy Turn, who ended up in a wheelchair. This is a brutal sport. People have died in the ring. People have been left paralyzed by fighting. When you have a hatred that's as real as this, does that play on your mind?
I don't hate this man. I would never give him that type of power over me. I hate what he stands for. I hate what he did. I hate what he represents. But as him as a person, I'm not going to say I hate him. I'm not giving him that power over me. I don't hate anybody. I've just got to make sure that we set an example here. You know, what he did in failing these 2 drugs tests, in my opinion, is unacceptable. As you said, people have been paralyzed, people have died. So for anybody who is out there thinking to cheat, they have to be made an example of. They have to be punished, they have to be embarrassed. And that's what I've been doing.
I mean,
wow. You know, you got to give it to Chris Eubank in that situation, because Chris, man, you know, he was the other guy. You know, he was that guy that was clean. He was that guy ready to fight. He was that guy that got to 157 pounds because they had a rehydration clause in that fight. 2 drug tests, though, looks bad, people. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, and there's really no argument that you can. I mean, there's arguments, but are they really valid arguments? Are we really getting to that, you know, that justification, that argument to that point? Are we really there? Does Conor Benn actually have something besides the 200-page document? Man, we've heard all this stuff. The eggs, the this, that, and the other. But Chris at least told us and showed us why he's doing and why he's acting the way he is. Because he can. That's right, he can. I act that way because I can, because guess what? I was a clean fighter. I was really giving up a concession because I have no business being that small. I was the one that was cheated or was attempted to be cheated from another guy. And the crazy thing about that, Chris is just showing you, hey, you wanted to cheat me, and I could be a DICK, right? And that's what he's doing. I mean, at least it's some explanation. But then what he chooses to do is exactly why people like or hate Chris Eubank Jr. for stuff like this. If you're a matchroom guy, you're going to hate Chris Eubank. I've noticed that. People are so tribal with this shit. They're 2 fighters, man. You know? So let's continue.
I interviewed Conor in this very studio at the height of all the allegations against him. He was passionate in his denial that he'd ever cheated. And we went through a pretty tough grilling that night, and it got very emotional for him. And I guess in the end, only he knows for sure. But the reality is that all the investigatory bodies have cleared him to fight in this fight with you. So you might think he's a cheat, and you're perfectly entitled to your view. But the reality is, if he was a convicted cheat, he wouldn't be able to fight you. So do you accept that for the purposes of your fight, that he's not a convicted cheat? He's someone that you might think he is, but he's not been convicted of that.
And whether he's been convicted or not is irrelevant. The fact is, substances were found in his system. You know, there have been thousands of fighters that have been popped for performance-enhancing drugs.
And been banned.
And been banned.
And been banned.
Or been fined.
Every single one. I've not received a fine. I've been cleared by 3 organisations, by the NADP, the WBC, UCAD, no ban, cleared to fight, no fine.
It's not good.
That's why I don't care if it's good.
But that is true, whether you like it or not. That is the truth and where we are.
That very
If that's
may
your
well be.
argument, you need to do better. It's a pathetic
But
argument.
there are plenty of fighters even now in boxing today that have failed drugs tests. They've been fined or served bans, and then they've been let back into the ring. This is in no way different. He got caught. He went out of boxing for a little bit, spent $1 million trying to clear his name.
You know what? That's why you're an idiot.
No,
because I've been cleared by 3 organisations.
I don't care.
By people who are a lot smarter than you.
Was there drugs in your system?
This is you talking
Was
personally.
there drugs in your system?
Maybe not. None of your
Okay.
business. I've been cleared 3 times.
It is my business when
business.
you were preparing to fight me.
Yeah, but you don't know the ins. You think you know.
Well, let me-
Me
hang on,
trying
hang
to
on.
explain it to
Hang on,
you.
before let me ask you, Conor, on that point, because you raised it at one of the press conferences. And it's a valid point. Do you accept that these substances were found in your body?
There's nothing to accept.
No. No.
It's the facts.
Because
I never took anything knowingly. I never took.
But that's a different question.
Yeah.
Whether you took it knowingly or not, do you accept that they were
I struggle
found?
to accept it still.
Because you don't want to accept it.
I struggle to accept it.
Let's say that he
Well, hang on,
was an
hang on,
accident.
Chris.
No, I need to say that.
That's-
Let's just say
that's-
it was an accident.
No, but he's.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, but that's first of
He
all.
didn't know how the drugs got into
Wait,
his
wait a
system.
second. First of all, let's acknowledge the fact that he's accepted.
I don't need to acknowledge anything.
Well, I know you don't need to, but I do. And the viewers, I think, to the point of view
The
of the
drugs were in his
viewers,
system, whether he knew about them or
I'm
not.
going to come to that.
They were in his system.
Chris, I'm going to come to that. For the purposes of the interview, though, and for the viewers watching, that's an important admission.
We've got it.
Now, hang on.
We've got it.
Hang on.
But it still doesn't mean you're not guilty.
Let me conduct the interview how I want to conduct it. I will come to you for that point you're making now. Because you asked the question, and I asked it on your behalf, and we got a concession from Conor that yes, the substances were in his body, but you didn't take it deliberately. Is your position?
I never took anything. That's
Right.
it.
Okay, so let me stop there for a commercial break anyway. What Piers asked Conor Benn, okay, we are unpacking all this stuff because it's coming back, it's going to come back up. It's supposed to come back up. When he agreed to fight Chris Eubank Jr. again, it's going to come back up. It needed to. It's not like, again, there's no Eddie there trying to, talk those little nice, catchy speeches and, you know what I mean, and smooth talk and, you know what I mean, slick cat shit type talk. It's none of that now. It's just Conor, Piers, Chris, and the 2 security guards just keeping them away from each other. That's all it really is. And it's him asking him, hey, do you accept what drugs were in your system? Do you accept it? You know what I mean? And the problem I'm having with Conor is Conor waited a long time. That's a yes or no question. And that's something that, I think you should have had on your dome to say quickly. But I mean, some people do take their time honestly trying to, explain something or answer something truthfully. So to give Conor the benefit of the doubt, that may be what he was doing. The only problem was it didn't look good. It was a bad look. It looked bad. Like, do I accept it? What do I say? It's almost like, what do I say? Because remember, shout out to Wiley, a friend of mine. He did ask me. He called me and he was like, bro, I don't know if he should have done that. What is he doing on there? A lot of people disagreed with him going on Piers Morgan. And saying, hey, I haven't done this. I'm cleared. I'm innocent. I'm this. And the bad thing about drugs, like Chris Eubank Jr. said, thousands of boxers have been popped for shit. Banned substances or otherwise. Okay? And they have served bans. They have paid fines. They have did their thing. They took their time off. They came back to the ring. Bars. And he said this is no different. Now, there is other ways to do so. And I'm going to give you an example. If you, just like Conor Benn was some substances were in his system, which he paid a lot of doctors and he did a lot of things to attempt to clear his name so he wouldn't get banned. But the catch-22 was he spent more money on the damn research than he did the ban. Well, which one is worse? You doing the research to try to prove you're not, that proves that you were innocent, or would you take the damn ban as though you were guilty? He didn't want to do that. Okay, Conor didn't want to do that because Conor didn't want to be looked at like a cheat. Live_well79, counterpunch to you. Let's give him hell. Bars. What's your next winner of this fight? I don't know, bro. I don't know what the next winner of this fight is. But what I'm saying is, this is first things first. Honestly, these guys are supposed to fall 2 years ago, right? Then this fight's supposed to be in 2022. So this fight's old, bro. This is old. So the controversy around the fight should be bigger than the fight is. But until we see the fight, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we have. We have Conor Benn fighting, buying lawyers, hiring doctors to give him a whole breakdown of the possibilities and the things of that nature, when in reality, it would have probably been easier to take the ban, but he didn't want to be looked at like that. Since that's the case, he spent more money doing that. But he wasn't cleared to fight. He was not. He's cleared to fight now, but it's already been 2 years, so whatever he had in his system, the stipulations of time from a ban has taken place. Yeah. So that being said, it's kind of like a loophole. Like, hey, we're in investigations now. Same thing with Dillian White. Dillian White did the same shit. Like, hey, we're doing this. I can't talk too much about it. It's, I got lawyers and I got doctors and I got, to the point it's like, okay, well, does that change the outcome of what really is going on? I don't know if it does. But so many people cheat and they say the same thing anyway. I didn't cheat. And they actually did. Just tuned in for live. What's good, Kurt? Jay, counterpunch to you in the building. Who you got? Conor Benn or Chris Eubank Jr.? Man, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the stipulations are different now. The time frame's different. Chris Eubank's taken an L from Liam Smith, his rival there. Then he came back and beat Liam Smith, in a similar fashion. So, let's go. The Eubanks, Conor's missing me off. So, pissing, yeah, that's what I thought you were. He's missing me off, man. You're missing me off. Tired of this dude, man. He's missing me off, man. I'm telling you, man, he's missing me off. I need my glasses. No worries, man. I need some too. I mean, like, can they make the font bigger? You guys heard me. I'm suffering from that too, man. Getting older, you're not seeing as well as you used to. Nice London background. Yeah. I was wondering, like, a lot of people ask, dude, you're London? No, not London. But here we go. Let's continue.
Took anything. That's
Right.
it. Never took anything.
Never took anything knowingly.
Never.
Now, your point is that from that moment, and there'll be a lot of people who agree with you, that from that moment, if you're an elite athlete of any kind in a professional sport and they find substance in your body, whether you intended it to be there or not, we've seen it with tennis players recently, we've seen it obviously with cyclists and so on, sprinters and whatever, that from that point, everyone should be treated the same and get a ban. But in all of those cases, in all of those sports, the arbitrating bodies investigate and they make a conclusion. And rather like a criminal court, people may not like the conclusion, they may still suspect that person. But if you've gone through due process, and no one can argue he didn't, he went through due process for years, right? It nearly ruined him. And I saw him at his darkest moment in here, and it was dark. This was a guy on the edge.
Good.
Right, okay, you might say good, okay, fine.
You're going to be on the edge come April 26th.
Okay, and we'll come to the fight in a moment. But just for the purposes of this, you need to accept due process was conducted, and at the end of it, they made conclusions. You may not like the conclusions, you may not accept the conclusions, but they are conclusions which have allowed this fight to happen. Without them concluding that he hadn't done this deliberately, you wouldn't be getting in the ring with it.
And again, fighters can fail drugs tests and appear back in the ring. It's happened a million times before, and it will happen a million times again. This is what's happened with Conor. Whether he is innocent of not knowing that how the drugs got in the system, you're still guilty.
Do you accept that can happen?
Because
Do you accept that can
as a
happen?
fighter, it is your job to know everything you are eating, drinking, putting into your system. If you don't monitor it, and somebody slips something in somewhere, which I do not believe, but if that's what he's trying to say happened, it's still your fault, you're still guilty, you're still a drugs cheat, and we still have to make an example of it.
Conor, you've said to me before, and it's been your position, I think, that you believe it may have come from contaminated eggs. Is that still your position about it? Is that what you think is the...
The case is done. I'm not here to talk about the case at all. It's, it's...
I'm only asking because he hit you with an egg, obviously.
He can do what he wants. He's an idiot. And he's an idiot that's going to get chinned come April 26th. Period. Irrelevant of what it was. The stars of a line for me to render you unconscious.
Let me ask you, Chris, about your dad and the legacy. And you were a bit older, I think, when your dad first fought Nigel. I think you were about 4 and then about 7 when they fought again. Is that about right?
I believe that's...
What memories do you have of either or both fights?
Okay. I think that's kind of lame that Conor don't want to talk about the allegation. If they're over, it's over. Now, if it's during, that's one thing. Because of the lawyers, because of what's happening behind the scenes that you're told not to talk about. But him saying, I'm not here to talk about the drug, it's like, bro, you came there and you were on Piers Morgan and you talked about all these other things. And this is where the integrity factor should come in. You should be willing. It doesn't matter how much you dislike a person. I think you owe it to that person that you were accused of trying to cheat on what that was. Hey, I didn't do it. I don't know how it got there. Hell, I apologize if it is, or to whoever. Because the thing is saying, I don't know how I got there. I'm innocent. I think that's kind of a deflective way of not really dealing with your own responsibilities. You know what I mean? Lou Brown, absolutely. Bunch of loose ends. That's what it is. It's like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Like, dude, stop. If you ain't dirty, why are you scared to clean up? Why are you afraid to talk about it? Look, listen. I would be 100% comfortable if I was Conor Benn and I knew that it's some bullshit that happened to me that wasn't right, that was in my system. I don't know how it got there. Now, boxing is look. Boxing is a real dirty sport. Dirtier than you can ever imagine it being. You know what? You want to know how boxing is? I'm going to tell you guys a perfect movie to watch. Put this on your watch list if you haven't saw it. Put this on your watch list. It's called Red Belt with Ejiofor Chiwetel Ejiofor, right? Red Belt. It's not even a boxing movie, but the things that they did in that movie showed you how boxing moves, what goes on, what you're not aware of, those type of things people do, shady, dirty, murky, shitty stuff is all in that movie. You should watch it. Red Belt. Very underrated movie. Not a big budget, not a huge show, not a cheap show or a film, but it is a show that teaches you about what goes on in boxing. So watch that movie, then apply that shit to boxing, and you'll be like, that's what type of stuff we're dealing with when we see these fights, when these fights are getting made behind the scenes, under the table, behind closed doors. All of these things happen when we're dealing with fights. Just like this shit here. So you have to keep in mind, Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn, they knew about those drug tests before Chris Eubank Jr. did. And what happened with Eddie, it doesn't matter how much you like Eddie. I know Eddie can talk. I know Eddie can articulate. I know Eddie knows how to explain things. But one thing about Eddie, which he's being reputed of doing, hiding shit from other people that needed not to be hidden. Hiding shit from other people that's not meant to be hidden. Okay, see, in 2019, let me give you an example. 2019, Dillian White fought an undefeated fighter named Oscar Rivas from Colombia by way of Canada. He fought Oscar Rivas. Good fight. Rivas dropped him in the 9th round. However, before that fight, there was some adverse findings with Dillian the Body Snatcher White. Adverse findings. The same adverse findings that Team Rivas and other people did not know anything about. At that point, because it was like Conor Benn, well, we checked this, I got lawyers, I got this, I got that. I'm putting things in place to fight this particular thing, to check this out, to get the B sample, to do all these things. And it's like, okay, well, what's taking so long for this B sample to come back and all this? So, listen, the problem was, it wasn't even about what Dillian White had or didn't have. It was an issue with his drug test. Either he was guilty of doing something or not guilty. The guilty party came in is when someone made the decision not to inform Team Rivas about that damn adverse finding. Then they could have reacted or treated it accordingly, which they didn't do because they didn't know. That's one. Two, 2022. Eddie Hearn knew about that test, and he tried to get it and move it along. Now, Chris Eubank Jr., needless to say, though, was still okay with going along with that particular read. He wanted that money. I don't know what Chris is going through, but Chris wanted that. He wanted them M's. But, you know, but it is what it is. Let's continue.
At the time, I was too young, but later on in my life, as I got older, I started to understand what it was my father did, who he was, what he'd gone through, and I learned that Nigel Benn was his arch nemesis, was the man that put him through hell for years and years and years, was the man that they built their careers with, the man that he did that with.
Why did your dad view him as his arch nemesis?
They fought in front of 15 million people watched them fight.
But often boxers that have, I remember Ali Frazier had equally ferocious, if not more so, battles in the heavyweight division, but became close friends in later life.
That may be. I don't think that these two particular men have it in them in terms of personalities to ever just to forget the past and to be friendly.
Have they ever been friendly?
You have to ask them. I don't know. I know my father, who was the one that said, I don't hate that man, is similar to me. He doesn't harbor emotion like the Benns do.
We've got that clip actually. Let's take a look at that.
This man is nothing but, he's the real hype. I come up the hard way. I did prove myself, boy. You had your, let's have some parliamentary procedure here, right? Oh, God. I have nothing to say to Nigel. I find the man intolerable in that he's so wild. I have no time for such people. He has no class as far as I see it. About Nigel Benn, I would say this. The man is a powerful puncher, a very powerful puncher. For this, I would like his autograph, because after I've finished with him, he isn't going to be anybody.
I personally do hate him.
So is there any point in me asking you to shake hands after signing the contract?
No,
Gentlemen, all four of you, thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you.
I mean, I'm struck immediately by the similarity with you guys, and it goes further than just the name. But Conor, your dad there openly saying he hated Chris Eubank Senior, but Chris Eubank not saying that, and you're not saying that again here. Do you see a parallel there? You're very likely.
I just personally think he's an idiot. I think he's an absolute idiot, but big head.
A clean idiot, though.
Yeah, but you're still an idiot, though. You're still an idiot that nobody likes. As I said, even your dad don't like you. That's an accomplishment.
As long as
that's it, period. That's it.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because you have a very good relationship with your father.
Unbelievable relationship.
Has it always been good?
Yeah, he's my hero.
He's your hero.
He's my hero.
And he's been there throughout this process at your side.
He's probably struggled with it more than myself.
Why?
I'm his son. I'm his son.
Does he really want you to do this fight?
Of course. 100 million %. 100 million %. And I wish my dad done more than grab you by the throat the other day.
His father's upset more than him because he's destroyed his father's legacy.
I'm not there. Mate, you don't even get on with that. Talk about destroy your father's legacy.
Against the Benn.
Talk about destroy your father's legacy.
That is, that's actually what's
let me ask you, Chris, because they have a very good relationship, Conor and his dad. But you do not currently have a relationship at all, as far as I'm aware, with your father. What's going on there?
What's going on there is life is going on. Sometimes fathers and sons, they don't see eye to eye. They don't get along. They fall out. It's unfortunate what is happening at this stage in my life with him.
Do you talk at all?
No, we don't. But
how long has it been like that?
Years.
How long since you last talked to him?
It's been a long time.
But give me a time scale.
I said years.
Yeah, but I'm only curious because there's been so much written about this and speculated and rumoured and everything else. I prefer to deal in talking to people at the centre of all this speculation and getting the truth to end the speculation. And I don't think it's an unreasonable thing, given you're a Benn Eubank rematch about to happen in a ring, to ask you about this. And I hope you don't. But I think people will be curious how long you've been estranged from your dad.
I mean, I've said it twice now. I don't know what more
you said years, but that could be 2 years or 10 years.
A couple of years.
A couple of years, okay. And what effect?
Okay, let me stop right there. You can tell Chris Eubank Jr., despite what his demeanor is, the whole, stroking of his beard and all that stuff, you can tell he was annoyed from Piers asking him questions that he really didn't feel comfortable answering. If you notice, he didn't really feel comfortable answering those type of questions. He was like, years, and it's like, well, I mean, how long? Years. And then he responded in a way as though he felt he said enough. I said years. I don't know what else you want me to say. Well, okay, one of my personal pet peeves is, he's agitated. But it's like, when you do ask someone something, and they give you some, like a reply like that, that's not a transparent reply. That's years. You know what I mean? Like somebody say, man, well, how much is it? A lot. That's not telling me anything. And so, me being, I'm that I am a stickler when it does come to that, because it's almost like, okay, what are you here for? You're here for an interview. So you don't want to talk about certain things. These are the times that you do want to articulate and be specific when someone asks you, like, how long? Because you could tell he was agitated, because it did not take him 2 or 3 times to answer the same damn question, or to say it. He could have thought about probably since 2022. And I can tell you when the last time it was. Probably since 2022. Why? Because that was the last time he talked to him. If you remember, he was talking. Remember him saying and speaking to his father that, hey, this is what's going on. So.
How on you?
I have upheld the family name. I've never cut corners. I've done my job. I've dedicated my life to the sport. The Eubank name is still at the top. It's still relevant. It's still respected. The worst thing Conor's done is put question marks.
Well, let's come to that.
On
I'm going to come
Benn's
to.
name. Let me talk.
Okay.
He's put question marks against the Benn name because, as they say, like father, like son. So if he's capable of cheating, did his father cheat?
I've shown more integrity and resilience.
That's the question that now arises.
You have done your whole career.
That's now the question that arises.
Then you have done your whole career. You're choosing to fight a welterweight.
I don't believe his father didn't know what he was doing. I just don't believe.
As I said, cleared for each other.
That means that
a lot smarter.
Nigel Benn could have been capable of doing the same thing in his career.
You don't know that.
No, I don't. But that's the questions now. That's the questions that have now arisen because of what he did.
Okay, but before we get to questions like that may or may not have arisen, and they've arisen because.
Oh yeah, Chris Eubank. I think that's intentional. See, now he's saying, well, if Conor cheated and he knew he cheated, that meant Nigel, more than likely, as close as he was to Conor Benn, knew about it. That means that if he knew about it, that means he was okay with it. And if he's okay with it, that means he could have done it to my dad. Ooh. Because I didn't even really think of that. I didn't really even put Nigel in there with Conor in forms of, hey man, you got to cheat a little bit to get where you need. I don't think that. I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe that anyway. If that's true, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole with Nigel. Nigel's a legend. So to say that, hey, he knew about cheating, he's no different from someone like Panama Jack or Panama Lewis. If you guys can remember him, he was the trainer, the infamous trainer that trained Louis Resto, the one that cheated Billy Collins in a 10-round fight, breaking his face, giving him all types of mental trauma, which ultimately resulted for him to being a drunk and killing himself in a car accident years later. So yeah, see, Conor, I know he's trying to get up under his skin, but at the same time, is he wrong for doing that? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he could be someone else. He could take the high road. He could, you know what I mean? He could decide to be the better person and not bring it up. But why wouldn't he? I would. Now, is he discouraging the Conor Benn legacy? I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. has any right to say anything about how his dad feels about him. But did it look bad that Conor Benn cheated? Yes. But here's the reality of drug cheats and cheating overall in general. It doesn't matter in time. In time, those stigmas fall away, but it only falls away unless you keep them away and you keep winning and you keep the crowds field and you keep everything intact. People will eventually do that because then if you're claiming or you're testing clean after year after year after year, and you're knocking people over and you're showing people that not only was that a fluke or was the drugs a lie, I'm also doing the same thing that I did now versus what people accused me of doing drugs back then. And there's another problem before I continue with Conor Benn. Conor Benn's, if we look at Conor Benn, his last few fights were nothing like the fights he had with Chris Algieri, and other guys that he flatlined and knocked out cold. Those fights that he had after that didn't look that impressive. That's always a red flag. I don't give a shit who you are and who you're siding with. It doesn't matter. If people found drugs in your system, and before that time they found those drugs, you were knocking out dudes, knocking them spark out, knocking them senseless, you know what I mean? Doing these crazy things to them. Then you get this substance in your system. Then you come back, then you're not looking as big or as powerful. That makes you wonder, maybe he's off the juice. That's what it makes you wonder. It makes people wonder, well, wait a minute, maybe he was on something based off the differences in performance. So if you don't perform the same, people have every right to bring that up based on what the facts are. What are the facts? Conor Benn had something in his system. Before that, Conor Benn was knocking people out. After that, Conor Benn was not knocking people out. You see what I mean? It looks bad on so many levels. Just like Jarrell Miller. Let's use him for an example, right? Jarrell Miller was popped in 2019 for 3 substances on his way for the biggest payday of his career against Anthony Joshua, the unified heavyweight champion at the time. Right? Okay. They found him. They busted him. He's out. Andy comes in, makes history, but Jarrell Miller goes on to serve a ban. Right? The ban that he served was for 2 years. He comes back in 2020, I believe. Right? One of those, 2021. He gets popped again, serves another 2-year ban. He blames it on dick pills, people. Yes, he blamed it on Viagra, or something like that. Rhino, or whatever. He blamed it on that. However, when he came back to the ring, he was fat as shit, and he had no stamina. Then we didn't see the same Jarrell Miller. Now, he had a good little scrap with Lucas Brown. I think he needed the rounds, but we didn't see him punching like that, because Lucas Brown is a very underrated fighter. I remember when Dillian White knocked him out. And Jarrell Miller did not look sensational or impressive at all against Danny Dubois. So people will always look at your performance, especially when you've had drug allegations, as proof or evidence that you weren't who you were on drugs. That is correct. But let's continue.
Put them out. Just on the relationship with your dad, what was the catalyst for you getting fractured as a father and son?
It got to a stage where I needed to step out of the shadow completely. It's a big shadow.
It is.
He's also in a big shadow.
You both are.
Mine's a blessing, though.
Mine was a blessing too, but it got to a stage where I realized I have to separate myself from this huge character that's always next to me. He's different. His father kind of let him do his own thing and kind of, jump in and sink or swim. My old man was always next to me. And it got to a stage where I decided that I needed to walk my own path. He was not happy with that decision. That's the start of it. Then you have the situation with my brother passing away. That affected him in a deep way, affected all of us.
I talked to him around that time, and I could tell he was profoundly impacted by that.
That's right. Mental health is a real thing. That incident, coupled with the fact that we were already not seeing eye to eye, destroyed a large part of the relationship. And it still hasn't seemed to have recovered, unfortunately.
Have you made any attempt to get back together with him?
Of course.
Has he rebuffed that?
No, he hasn't.
So what's stopping you, would you say?
What's stopping what?
What's stopping you getting back to talking again?
He needs to be able to get over whatever demons he's fighting. Now, this fight, it's either gonna enable him to get over those demons, or unfortunately it's gonna make those demons grow. I don't know. I still hope he's there on the night, just like his old man will be.
Do you think he will be?
I honestly don't know. You know, I hope and I pray that he is. And I will do things to try and get him there. But if he isn't, guess what? I'm still going to go out there and do the job.
But it's, you know, when I talk to you.
Okay, let me stop right there, guys. Chris Eubank Sr. was a huge personality. He was a huge character. He did do a lot of things that I feel sabotaged Chris Eubank Jr.'s career. The Triple G fight, the Canelo fight. The Triple G fight was there, bro. That fight was on the table, signed, ready to be signed, sealed, and delivered. And Chris Eubank Sr. sabotaged that shit, man. He did. He was always in front. He always wanted to be the person heard. He always wanted to be the person seen. Yes, he's a big personality. He is Chris Eubank Sr., and I think Sr. wanted to suck up some of that passion and limelight and fame from his son. That's what I think. And I think Chris had seen that, acknowledged it, and like, look, I'm the junior, but I'm the one fighting now. So I think I need to have some type of voice or have some type of originality, and I think people need to see me instead of my father all the time, because he may or may not use this for his own platform, you know, to get his dopamines up based on the fame that he used to have back in the yesteryear. All right? So I agree with him. I mean, you know, because you got a lot of people like that. Teofimo Lopez Sr., he's like that. At times people talk about Bill Haney, you know, because Bill can be like that. Angel Garcia, Danny's dad, he's definitely like that. So yeah, you got a lot of those guys that you can tell they sacrificed. Those guys are a little different because those guys weren't fighters. You know what I mean? Chris Eubank Sr. was a fighter, so it's even worse for him because I think he demands respect based on who he is, based on what his position is, and his position, you know, is supposedly supposed to supersede his son's. But his son is fighting now, not him. But he still wants people to look at me, look at my, you know, fancy shit on and my shiny, clean, whatever, shoes, dress shoes. And, you know, he's very, very, what's the word? Sophisticated, right? Millennial, proper, classy, right? He's that type of guy. So I can understand that, and but then yet it baffles me though. It would seem like, you know, he lost a son, and when I heard about it, I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. And you know, and he was the younger son, you know, so, you know, like, I don't know what that's like, and I don't ever want to know what that's like. So all I can do is my heart goes out to Chris Eubank Sr., because you can tell that that hurt him. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, that, like, stuff like that, bro. You don't supposed to bury your children. That's just, you don't supposed to bury your children. And I would think that would get their relationship closer, but you know, certain things happen, man. So let's continue.
We don't really know each other, but when I talk to you, I know your dad well, and I've done for many decades. You're very like him. You talk like him, you look like him, you have the same kind of life views, I think. It must be a very sad thing in your life that you're estranged.
Boxing teaches you discipline, it teaches you mental stability, it teaches you how to deal with impossible odds. My father not being a part of my life anymore, it's sad, it's horrible, it's whatever you want to call it. But I understand that, guess what? There are people in this world, billions of people, that are going through things 10 times worse. So I have no right to sit here and complain and feel sorry for myself, and it's just not.
If he's watching this, what would you say to him?
I'm here. I'm getting ready for the biggest fight of my life. If you want to be next to me, like his father's next to him, we can do it together. If not, no hard feelings. I'll get the job done for you, don't worry about it.
Do you love him, your dad?
He's my old man. It doesn't matter if I don't talk to him until the day I die, I'm always gonna love him. He taught me everything.
He's indicated this fight means a lot to him, that you need to win.
When did he indicate that?
This is what we've been told.
Okay. I haven't, like I said, I haven't heard from him. I haven't heard any indications from him. As far as I know, he doesn't want this fight to go ahead. He still doesn't.
Do you feel that responsibility to win it for the Eubank name, given it's a Benn you're fighting?
We are both in the same boat. We both have to go forward and uphold the family name. The first fight, that was what it was all about. Now there's a lot more involved. Now there's a lot more at stake. Now it is personal between me.
Well, the stakes have been raised, Conor, because I wanted to explore Chris's relationship with his father, because it's obviously significant that your dad's going to be right with you, and is, and at the moment his father is not. And I hope he is there, Chris Senior, on your big night. It'll be an extraordinary spectacle if both fathers are there to watch their sons fight. But there's no doubt the ante has been ratcheted up between you two, from not just being Benn v Eubank, a generational thing, but also since the last fight got cancelled at the last minute because you failed the drugs test at the time, and the way that he's reacted to that and repeatedly called you a cheat, said he doesn't believe the results, exonerates you, inferred, as we've heard again tonight, slurs against your father by association, saying he must have known that you were doing this deliberately, and secondly, that in his opinion means that maybe your father also did that deliberately, for which there's no evidence. But that's taken things up a lot, hasn't it?
Not really. I thought he was an idiot then. I think he's an idiot now. The facts are the facts. Irrelevant of what he believes, he's an idiot. The facts are the facts. That don't change.
But are you aware of the legacy on your shoulders when you get in that ring?
Yeah, but my dad loves me regardless. My dad's proud of me regardless. The relationship I have with my dad is beyond boxing. It's funny because my dad doesn't really care about what I do in my career. My dad cares more about me as a man and about my happiness and about the direction I'm heading. You don't really, boxing's a now thing. You know, my dad's my hero and, you know, I'm my dad's hero. And it's sad to see, to be honest, because we are where we are, whether we like it or not, because of our dads.
That's true.
They laid the foundations. Yeah, we have to work hard. Yeah, we have to go through adversity. Yeah, we have to go through Nepo kids. But ultimately, this is the blessings of our dads. They laid the foundation for us. So it's sad to see that the relationship ain't working on their end, genuinely, and I mean that. It's sad to see. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that being funny, you know, because the relationship I have with my dad, it would be great to see you and your dad in your corner. I mean that. No sarcasm, not being a...
It's hard to believe.
No, not being, well...
I've got to be careful. I don't want you to mean something.
No, listen, I'm just saying.
He's being sincere.
Because you haven't heard the things he said leading up to this interview.
About you. Yeah, about you, because I think you're an idiot.
About our relationship, my father's
your dad
relationship.
don't like you. Yes, I agree. Your dad don't like you. It's a matter of fact. It's a fact.
Him talking about him,
it's a fact.
I take everything he's saying with a grain of salt. I can't help it.
Okay, well, it's a matter of fact your dad don't like you. Why does he be it? It's not really, it's not me just saying that or speculating that. It's the truth. But
you don't know what the truth is.
Okay.
You think
you don't know what the truth is. You think you know. It's all right back at you. But what I'm trying to say to you is it would be nice to see your dad there in your corner. Come find that, because at the present moment.
According to research,
Now, it's a heart-to-heart kind of. And Chris is like, you know what? I don't believe you. Don't give me any sympathy. Don't give me any positive vibes because I don't want to take them. It's Benn's fault for not being transparent about the situation. He juiced the egg slap was Joe. You had many omelets tonight, Ben. That you would be funny if Chris said that before the fight. Scantz Rants, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Marlon Thornell in the building. Eubank Sr. recently said Benavidez is number 1 pound for pound over Crawford, so he's right about the mental. Nah, Chris gonna knock his off in the 8th for sure.
At the present moment, he thinks I'll knock you out. Again, a matter of fact. I'm not saying that being funny. That's what your dad believes. It's out there. So, but I genuinely, it's not, again, you may think I'm being sarcastic. We are where we are because of our dads.
Yeah.
They laid the foundation. We are like our dads. We are the double and carbon copy of our dads.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see your dad in your corner and you mend that relationship. And whatever's coming between you guys, it'd be great to see. And I mean that's coming from my heart. I'm not being sarcastic. I say what I say and I mean what I say.
Conor, like I said, I was ringside when your dad fought Gerald McClellan, and there was an interview, a very powerful interview recently in the Daily Mail with Gerald McClellan, who's now cared for by his sister and basically doesn't leave his wheelchair and hasn't done since that fight. And I remember Frank Warren, who was the promoter that night, saying, coming up to me, I was editor of a newspaper at the time, and he said to me, go back to your newspaper because both fighters are going to hospital and we could lose one or both of them tonight. And it really brought home to me the brutality of this sport. I think it's a magnificently noble sport. I think the courage that both you guys and all the boxers show, I got to know a lot of boxers, and I find all of them heroic people in terms of the courage it takes to get in that ring. But there's also a real danger once you get in that ring. And when the hatred is at the level that you two have, you know, I remember it with Benn, your dad and McLennan, it was real. And when they went at each other, to be ringside, to see the power they hit each other, the ferocity, it just felt animalistic in there. Do you fear that could happen again here?
No, not at all. It's not my intentions, and I assume that's not Chris's intentions. Ultimately, I don't like the man, and I don't have to like him. Every single person I fight, I hit with bad intentions. It's the name of the game. We know what we're in for. We know what we've signed up for. Our life's always on the line. That's our choice. You know, ultimately, we prepare extremely hard. We're elite athletes. We do the best we can. But the end goal is to never ruin someone's life. Our goal is to go in there and beat the other man.
Do you feel the same way, Chris? If you're honest?
Honestly, I'm shocked he's speaking like this. It doesn't match the energy that I've been seeing over the last few days. And, you know, I don't like it. You know, it's true. What he's saying is true. But, you know, this is not as a fighter supposed to be the mentality going into a fight.
What's your mentality?
My mentality is search and destroy. You know, I've been in fights where I have hospitalized people. Nick Blackwell, you know, he died on the way to hospital when we fought. He was revived with an adrenaline shot to his heart. Now he doesn't walk, or he doesn't speak well, and you know, he's been severely affected by the fight that we had. Going through something like that, it makes it real, and it turned me cold. Because I knew that this is possible. This isn't a movie, this isn't a video game. This happened. And it could happen again. It could happen to me if I don't dedicate myself. So I'm extremely passionate when it comes to that. So you can understand my disgust and my obsession with the fact that Conor got popped. Because, you know, performance-enhancing drugs increase the chances of tragedies like this happening. Which is why I can never forgive him. Can never forgive him.
So when you get in that ring, are you just going to be as ferocious as you can possibly be? Is that the natural instinct that you feel?
Absolutely, and it's the same for him. He's talking it down a little bit right now, but the truth of the matter is...
It's still going to render you unconscious.
There you go.
I want you to get up. I want you to wake up.
Yes, I do. That's what I want to hear.
Yes, I do want you to wake up. I'm still going to flatten you.
Good.
Period. So I'm not trying to downplay it.
And that's the
He's asking about my intentions. Yes, I want you to get back up. Yes, I want you to carry on living your life. But I will splatter your head all over the canvas.
That's good.
Yes, that's still going to be a matter of fact.
That's what I need to hear. I need to hear that. I don't want all this soppy bullshit that you guys are trying to get into right now.
Ain't no soppy nothing.
No, well, Piers is putting this interview into a direction which I don't want it to be.
Well, that's interesting. Why do you think that, and what direction do you think I'm taking?
You know exactly what you're doing, Piers. You're very good at what you do, but I'm not falling into the trap.
What do you think the trap is? Genuinely curious.
I don't want this to be, you're not getting any emotions out of me.
You think you're being smart, but you're not being an idiot.
I'm not being smart.
You think you're being smart.
Piers is being smart.
No, you're being dumb.
Smart.
He got you. I'm still going to flatten you.
He got you.
Do I want you to get back up, Chris?
He got you.
Do I want you to amend your relationship with your dad?
Piers is not getting me.
Most of the public do. Is your dad in my corner come fight night? Yes, he is. But yes, I would love to see you guys mend your relationship. Okay. It is sad to see, and life is too short.
I don't want to hear about
life is too short. It's going to be sad when your ass is
going to get in that.
When your ass is handed to you come April 26th.
We're going to hurt each other.
Hopefully that'll mend your relationship.
We're going to hurt each other in front of millions of people. That is the bottom line.
I mean, Conor, for me, it's interesting because many.
Let me say this though. I have to agree with Chris Eubank because this isn't after the fight. This isn't a post press conference. This is them brewing up, preparing mentally, physically, and all that for a fight. And Piers is trying to cover areas that have, or that sway away from boxing, that can get you, what's the word? It can unarm you. There you go. It can unarm you with, hey man, bro, I hope you make it back with your father. I got my father. We both was, you know what I mean? You're putting us in this nice little understandable situation where it would be for a split second easy for me to think, dude, this dude that's similar to me, that we have this in common. You know, our fathers fought each other and made millions of dollars and had millions of fans and was that type of fight back then, you know, and then, hey, I wish you the best. Now, I would say this though. If Conor was really trying to, if he was really trying to do that, he would have said, man, I hate what happened to your brother. That would have really kind of probably took Chris in a whole different direction. Because unfortunately, that's something that you can't do anything about. Chris's brother passing away, nobody else could do anything about. See, he could always call his dad and say, Dad, I love you, I miss you, man, I just want you the best. He could do those things. He just hasn't done them, or he hasn't done it lately, right? And same for his dad. But his brother passing, you know, when you die, you just die. And you, especially if you can't get revived. If you code, that's the type of code you definitely need the password for. You know? So, no. I think he knows what's happening. I think he knows exactly what's going on. Ouch.
You're taking a bit of a gamble here because you're going up quite a lot in your normal weight. He's 7 years older and therefore much more experienced than you are. Physically, he seems bigger than you as you sit here together. You're exuding a lot of confidence about this, but do none of those things concern you?
I don't really know, because he's just a man. I don't look at him as he's a man. I'm not scared of no man. I look at him and he's just been flattened.
So why did you try and enforce this rehydration clause? If I'm
just been flattened by a lineman. I ain't talking to you. He's just been flattened by a light middleweight. You think I'm in the slightest concern? I will absolutely iron you out. I'm going to come in there and stick it on you from the get-go. Good. Straight away. I'm going to come out there hot skipping a big right hand to a big flipping Eddie else.
I don't believe you.
You don't believe me? No. What would you believe in?
I don't believe.
Would you believe?
I think you're going to run for your life.
Oh, shut up. Talk shit.
I think you're going to run around.
You talk rubbish. You're delusional.
That's what I think.
You're delusional. You're delusional. I'm going to come out there and stick it straight on you. Who's the one who asked for an 18-foot ring? And you're moaning going, I want a 22. I'm the one who asked for the 18-foot ring.
And you know why I said I don't want an 18?
Yeah, exactly. Don't whatever your excuses. I've asked for an 18-foot ring.
He asked for an 18-foot ring, and that was something that he kind of...
Free knockdown rule when the corner can't save you.
That's what he's... I don't want anything else before 18-foot ring.
You can have the ring walk second. You can have the home corner.
I will have all of that.
I have all of that. I don't care about all the fancy stuff. Just give me an 18-foot ring. Corner can't save you, and no free knockdown rule. That's all I've asked for. Guess what?
I know. That's what you've asked for, and guess what? You're not even getting that.
Let me ask you both.
I don't care about what size the ring is.
Well, I'm getting that.
I don't care about what size the ring is. I don't think it makes any difference at all to the outcome of the fight.
Check your contract.
But just because you want it,
check your contract.
it's not going to happen.
Oh, really?
I'm not
Check
giving
your
you an
contract.
inch.
Check your contract.
Not a millimeter I'm giving you. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it.
Let me ask you both. Let me ask you both about the Nepo baby allegations, right? Which is that you're only getting these chances because of who your fathers were. And that secondly, something Cristiano Ronaldo told me, which has stuck with me, that his son's, his oldest boy, is a very good football player. But he's always going to have to live with being Cristiano Ronaldo's son. And that the one thing Cristiano can't give him all the best training, the best diet, everything, the best advice you can possibly give him. What he can't give him is the hunger that he had when he was that age, because he was genuinely hungry. His family had no money. He couldn't afford to eat a lot of the time. When he went to the Sporting Lisbon Academy, he used to queue behind the back of a McDonald's, and two kindly ladies used to give him free burgers. Otherwise, he'd be hungry. And he said, I can't give him that hunger. Do you guys, you both grew up in wealthy environments when your fathers made millions. So you lived in comparative luxury to the life that they led when they were young. Can you get the same hunger? When I watched them fight each other and other people, the hunger was visceral. It was so tangible. They were both natural warriors. Can you have the same thing if you've been brought up in a much more privileged background, do you think?
I do. I think it doesn't matter what sphere or life you come from, ambition is priceless. You know, that hunger's there. You're born with it. I don't think it's anything you can just pick up along the way. You think, I wake myself up at 5 a.m. every morning, train religiously, work ethics unmatched, to prove to myself how much I want it. You know, so it doesn't matter what your background is. I ain't got it out of the mud. I don't come from the rags to riches story. So you're telling me just because you have an advantage in life, because your dad worked so hard, that I can't achieve anything on myself? I'm still going to raise my son with the same principles, morals, and foundations that my dad raised me. You can start. It's every parent's, every dad's job to give their son a better life. Is it not? Is that not why we do what we do? It's why I do what I do. I want my son to have the best life he possibly can. That responsibility falls on me to give him the best life I possibly can. Just for then some people to tell him that he can't achieve the same thing, or he can't achieve greatness, or he can't achieve whatever it is he wants to achieve. You can do anything you want to do as long as you believe in yourself.
Chris, do you think, the same burning hunger your father had?
I've had 37 fights in my career, so my hunger cannot be questioned. Yes, in the early stages of my career or my life, I lived in the mansion, we had the nice cars, I went to private school, so I experienced that life. Then, as so many fighters unfortunately do, my father lost everything. He went bankrupt, and our lives changed. I was introduced to the working class lifestyle.
How old were you then?
I don't know, maybe 14, 15.
Which is a very difficult age to suddenly see such a dramatic change in lifestyle.
For sure. I went from living in a mansion to living above a nursery, in a studio. So for me, even though it was a horrible time in my life, my parents got divorced, I actually am grateful that this happened, because it took me out of that comfort zone, and it forced me to figure out how to get back there. I want to get back to the nice car and the nice house and eating whenever I want to eat, and not having to go down to Tesco's and spend a certain amount of money. I can only spend a certain amount each week on food. I want to get out of this position I'm in. How do I get back to where I was? Okay, I've got to get my ass in that gym and graft. and work and suffer and win. And that's what I did.
You're both in the business of professional violence. Many people have a problem with boxing just on principle, that people shouldn't earn a living from punching each other in the head. What do you say to people that feel that way about what you do?
A lot of people are going to have opinions about everything. I mean, boxing is the classiest of combat sports, in my opinion. It's a great sport, and it does a lot more good than it does bad.
You feel the same?
It teaches you discipline. The kids that are running around on the street stabbing and robbing and joining gangs, boxing is one of those sports where it can channel that energy and it can take youngsters away from those environments, teach them discipline, teach them respect. Once you know how to fight, you actually don't want to hurt people. As crazy as that sounds, is the people who don't know how to fight, which are out there trying to be the tough guys. So I think boxing...
But he knows how to fight. You know how to fight, but you want to hurt him.
Well, that's because we are going to be getting into a ring in a few months' time. If he wasn't a fighter and I wasn't a fighter, I wouldn't have any animosity towards him. Just because our fathers fought all those years ago, but they did fight. But we did both enter into the game of boxing, and he did get caught with performance-enhancing drugs. All those things have created an extreme dislike between us. I'm not going to say hate because it's too strong of a word.
At the first press conference, you pulled the stump of the egg and you smashed it around his face. Some people laughed, others thought it was all good, part of the sporting thing. Other people felt it was quite a demeaning moment to reduce it to whacking your opponent with an egg. On reflection, are you pleased you did that, or do you think that it was a bit childish?
On reflection, I wish I had an egg in both hands. That's the truth of it. The egg...
I'm going to get the second one off, all that absolutely.
The egg was, it was a symbol.
Oh, sure.
It was a statement.
What was the statement?
That if you cheat, you will be punished. You will be embarrassed. You will be exposed.
Cleared.
Okay.
3 times.
Cleared by people I don't know and don't care about.
You're the one who's an idiot.
Conor, how does it make you feel when he repeatedly calls you?
That's his job. Because if I was him, I'd probably do the same. So I get it.
He's trying to get in your head. He's trying to discredit you.
He's still going to get ironed out and flattened April 26th. It really don't make no difference. Say what you want. The reality is, the facts are, there's talk factual, not opinion, not I don't like the conclusion. The facts are, I've been cleared 3 times by people whose IQ is a lot smarter than him. He's got the IQ of a 5-year-old child. So I'm not going to listen to him. If you feel that way, then that's great. I do not need anything to splatter your head on the canvas. I do not need anything at all. It's going to happen regardless. April 26th.
You're going to need...
Chris, he said about you...
The canvas.
Conor said about you that you've underachieved in your career.
Oh, massively.
And you're still not out of your dad's shadow.
Well, I think the trash talk has brewed back up. There was a lull in there, I'm watching the comments, Conor does fit the bill of an angry short person on the Jews. I think there is some sincerity on both sides, but mostly it's build up considering the father's fight. They're making sure the fight sells. Oh, it's going to sell. That fight's going to sell. Eubank versus Benn, it is going to sell. Hold on a second, guys. One moment. Okay, so I am back, and the trash talk is back as well. Marlon Thornell, I think there's okay, we got that. We already done that one. Never watched Conor fight live. Definitely gonna buy this one. Kurt, are you going live today on the Nick Ball fight? Sorry if you've already been asked this. I got the chat about an hour late. Well, I may, depends. I got to get some stuff out. I know, so it should start here in a little bit, if not. But it would be definitely a different stream.
Your dad's shadow. And it is important to know you fought 3 times since the cancellation of that first fight, and you were knocked out by Liam Smith in January 23. You then avenged that loss by stopping him in the rematch. But to be knocked out by someone like Liam Smith, since you were supposed to get in the ring together, does that give you concern when you get in the ring with him?
You know, knocked out is a very strong word. The fight finished with me on my feet, begging the referee to let me continue. To me, knocked out means you're on the floor, unconscious, like he says he's going to do to me.
So you were stopped?
I was stopped by the referee. You can't swim without getting wet. If you fight enough, if you put yourself in these environments enough times, eventually there's going to be a little slip up. You're going to get caught.
And when he says you're an underachiever, what do you feel about that?
I don't feel anything. I mean, I have proven my worth in the sport. You know, I have paid my dues, I've dedicated my life, and I never cut any corners doing it. So regardless of what people may think of my ability or what I've achieved, I'm clean, I'm true. I put everything into every fight I have, and so I sleep well at night. And let me tell you something, this kid does not. He has nightmares.
Oh, I slept like a baby. First day we faced off, I had like a warmth in my heart, knowing that in just under 8 weeks, I am going to render you unconscious. I slept so good that night. Genuinely, I slept like a baby.
You didn't get
I slept so good.
You didn't get
I slept so good. Do you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm going to post my whoop on that night, on that day. I slept like an absolute baby, knowing that I'm going to render him unconscious April 26th.
The angriest I've seen you actually was when your dad intervened with the egg throwing and put his arm, I think, on your throat. And at the second press conference, you basically threatened Nigel Benn. Said if he did that again, you deal with him. And
it wasn't a threat, it was a promise.
Oh, it's not a promise, is it?
You can't touch scumbag. You can't touch him.
So you can throw an egg in his face and his father can't.
No, me and him are fighting. You're just upset.
Me and you were fighting.
I can't stand you. My dad has my back. You are, that's all.
I'm not upset.
My dad put
me and you were fighting. Whatever happens between us,
my dad put his arms around you. What are you going to do about it?
No one else.
Tell me.
No one else can touch me.
Tell me.
If they do, there'll be consequences.
Oh, consequences to what?
If anyone else
slap me right now,
if anyone else touches me,
if I slap me right now, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, talk about my dad.
I'm not talking about your dad.
No.
But I told him. I told him.
Please.
My old man would never touch you, so your old man's never gonna touch me.
I'll never slap you.
You would never slap me.
Yeah, no,
you put your hands on me twice since my last fight. When you pushed me, it doesn't matter. You put your hands on me.
Little push and shove.
You put your hands on me.
Stop moaning about it. Little push and shove. Stop moaning about it. Talk about my dad.
You put your hands on me. I put my hands on you.
I'll never disrespect your dad.
Yes, you would. You disrespected him before.
What? The fact that he don't like you is a matter of fact.
Okay, well,
it's a matter of fact. How's that disrespect?
You can't give it and not take it.
You fucked up by talking about my dad. You done fucked up talking about my dad.
You fucked up by taking it.
Yeah.
That's right.
What the fuck are you looking at?
You.
Well, we can have it outside, no problem. We can have it outside, no problem.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we can. You think I'm mucking around, threatening my dad? You think I'm playing games?
Ever talk to my dad like that? Ever talk to my dad like
hands on me.
that? Ever talk to... Well, don't put your hands on your son.
Listen, this is a fight game.
Do you know what I
kid.
said?
This is
It's a fight game. Then we'll meet outside then. And we'll have it out then.
Anytime you
We'll
want.
have it out then.
Anytime you want, kid.
Do you think it was disrespectful,
It's
though,
fucking extremely
to threaten Nigel Benn in the way you did?
The
He's
guy
only
put-
defending
the
his
guy
son.
put his
He's
hand around my
defending
neck.
your son. You may not understand that because
Defending
that
you against
running
what?
in your
Leg?
family. Like my dad don't run in your family. It could have
Defending
been
against
glass.
what?
It could have been anything.
Bullshit.
It could have. What do you mean
He
bullshit?
didn't
It
know
could
in the
have been
moment what was
It
going
doesn't
on.
matter what he did now.
Put your hands on someone's
He
son.
can't
If anyone
defend
put their
his
hands, if anyone put their
Nobody
hands on my
touches
son,
him.
I
It's
promise you they won't.
Nigel couldn't defend his son when he wasn't sure what you were using to attack him?
Listen, he can do whatever he wants, but I had to issue the warning to let him know that it can't happen.
And what would you do if he did that again?
I said he wouldn't get his hand back.
What meaning what?
What does that mean?
It means what it means.
What does that mean?
I said it.
He wouldn't get his hand back. What are you going to do? Cut it off?
He wouldn't get the hand back.
What does that mean?
I don't need to say anything more.
Chris, come on. You've got to explain what that
I
means.
don't have to do
You tell
anything.
him-
He's being clever again.
You
I
tell
made-
a man
I
he's
made
not
the
going to have his
statement.
hand back. Why?
I made the statement and that's it.
What are you going to do to his hand?
I made the statement and that is it, Piers.
But was it not disrespectful to target his dad,
The guy put his hand on my neck.
defending his son?
I don't care why. He put his hand on his neck.
Well, there's no reason. I mean, wouldn't you defend your children
Yes,
if
I
someone
would.
did that?
Of
to
course
us?
I would. Of course I would. But I'm not talking about me. I'm talking what he did. And I have to, as a man and as a fighter, react to when people.
Because the angriest I've seen you actually was when he threatened your dad.
I love my dad.
And I got that, because I feel the same way about my
If he was
father.
to put his hands on my son, I swear to God he wouldn't be living. And to you kids, obviously you don't, because you don't understand, and your dad obviously never protected you. That's why you feel the way you feel. Which is why you obviously feel the way you feel. No, it's it must be the way you feel the way you
I
feel.
was never protected.
Yeah, you was probably never. You look like you never been protected. You look like you never been protected.
Maybe that's why I'm the hard bastard I am
You ain't a
now.
hard bastard. You just got banged out, mate, by a light middleweight. Those hard bastard.
You'll find out how hard I am.
Hard bastard to who?
You'll find
If we was
out.
having it out on the cobbles, I guarantee there's only one making it out. I promise you on my life. Yeah, ain't you.
Oh man, if only you knew, kid.
Knew what? Knew what?
What happens to both of you if you lose? Chris, you said ahead of the first scheduled fight that if you lost to Conor,
He's
you would
finished.
retire. Do you feel the same way now?
Yes,
So you will retire if you lose?
yes. You know,
Really?
there is a point in every fighter's life that they will reach when they can't go any further. If I can't beat Conor Benn now, then I've reached my ceiling. Which is why this fight is so deathly important to me. Because I don't want to retire. I don't want to give up. I don't want to sail off into the sunset. I still have things to achieve.
Conor, what do you feel? You're younger, so
Yeah, listen, I'm 28. He's done what he's had to do in his career. He's finished.
you wouldn't quit if you lost this fight.
No, of course not. Not that I plan on losing the fight. Not that I think I will lose the fight. The reality is, you can lose fights. I will lose fights in my career. Not to this man.
But what would it mean to lose to him?
Oh, it'd be painful.
What would it mean as
This is my
a Benn to lose to a Eubank? Because for viewers who don't remember, your dad fought his dad twice. The first fight, Chris Eubank Sr. won, and the second one was deemed a draw. Many felt your father won that second fight, but it was a draw. So as the scorecard stands, a Benn has never beaten a Eubank in the ring.
And they never will.
What do you say to that?
Attention, jump into calisthenics.
You say never will.
What do you say to that?
It would be extremely painful. Any loss. Well, you remember I'm undefeated. He's been beat, flattened, knocked out. So
But to lose to a Eubank,
yeah, I mean it'd be extremely painful. Of course it would. As much as he's a Eubank, it's still a loss that I would struggle with. You remember I'm undefeated. I've not tasted defeat.
His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has said that the winner may get a fight, a shot at the title, world title fight. It would be the first genuine world title fight for either of you. It's an amazing potential prize. would put you on the precipice of becoming world champion if you won. What would that mean to you first?
I definitely have ambitions of winning a world title still. I had the WBC world title on the line. Is it the Eubank or the world title? I chose to have this fight at 160, and then I will be dropping back down to 147 to capture the WBC world title. But this will be my only fight at this weight.
And for you, Chris, obviously you're significantly older. What would it mean to potentially get a world title fight out of this?
I'm a 3-time IBO world champion, super middleweight and middleweight. And outside
they were interim titles.
No, they were full world title belts.
Did you feel that they were as valid as?
Absolutely. Regardless of what other people say, regardless of, how they view those titles, to me, I was a world champion. I am a world champion.
Do you believe that, Conor?
No, not at all.
It doesn't matter.
He's asking me my opinion. My opinion is, no. I got offered to fight for the IBO world title against Sebastian Formella, who I beat convincingly. But I chose not to fight for the IBO world title so I don't lose my ranking in the legitimate other organisations, which is why I'm top 5 in the WBA, WBC, IBF and WBO, because I chose not to fight for the IBO world title just to say I'm IBO world champion. And the reality is he fought for the IBO in a leisure centre in front of 2,000 people.
I fought for the IBO at the O2 in front of
20,000 people. Who was it, Quinlan? Who was it? Renaud Quinlan?
James DeGale.
No, Renaud Quinlan, was it?
I'm 2-time.
Was it Renaud Quinlan?
2-time.
Was it Renaud Quinlan?
One was
13 and 2 from Australia.
Have you ever fought in front of 20,000 people headline?
Actually, not headline, but I have.
You have.
But again, what you've done is summed up your whole career. That's your greatest accomplishments. I'm still 28, I've got time. You ain't. You're an old AP. You're an old age pensioner, mate.
You think you've got time. You've actually got 2 months, and then it's game over for you.
Then, talking rubbish.
It's been a fascinating interview because it's had very different moments and turns. There have been times when you've both been very open with me, human actually, in a way I wasn't expecting, and then other times, as we've seen, when suddenly it hasn't taken much to get you guys at each other's throats. There's a lot of simmering anger there between you. I think partly genuine animosity between the two of you, but also the legacy that you both clearly feel of Benn versus Eubank, carrying that generational burden on your shoulders, living up to your fathers, who were 2 of the greatest fighters this country has ever produced. There's a lot going on here. I can feel it. There's a lot of complex emotions. What do you think happens when that bell goes for round 1?
You guys are going to see one of the best fights in British boxing history. That's what I think happens.
Conor?
He gets signed out in 4 rounds.
What do you think happens?
The procedure will be parliamentary.
To quote your father.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that even in that moment you're thinking of him, mimicking the way he talks.
We are our father's sons. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. And I will uphold the family name.
When we saw your fathers together earlier, they refused to shake hands at the end of being interviewed. Would you shake hands together now?
Of course I would.
No. This is not a time to be cordial. If there's ever a day that he comes clean about what happened and why it happened, why he failed those drugs tests, then we can talk about shaking hands. Until that time, no respect will be given to this kid. None.
Even though he's just made now.
That was so hard for me to do, by the way.
Well, I know.
It was so hard for me to not slap you across the face when we had that face off. So hard. And my mum will be really proud of me because I promised I won't do anything stupid. And And I like to just point out that was so hard for me to do. Probably one of the hardest things I've had to do in a long time.
It's going to be a lot harder.
Oh, it's going to be easy work. You're easy work. I'm going to flatten you quicker than Smith.
So you can't even shake each other's hand?
I could shake.
I know, you've offered to, but you won't do that?
What would it achieve? Apart from giving you views.
It doesn't give me any views.
So why are you asking us to do it? I told you I don't want to do it.
I think that actually it is a noble sport, and that although you're going to be getting in a ring and pounding each other's heads in, actually you can also at the same time have a mutual respect for the fact you're both professional boxers and you both know what that entails.
He has no class. He just slapped me around the head with an egg. I think he's going to shake my hand. He has zero class.
I've shaken the hands of pretty much every man I've ever fought. But if you cheat, that respect, it goes out the window. I'm sorry.
Your opinion.
I have to make an example. You know, there are kids that are going to watch this. They need to understand, if you get caught,
cleared,
you lose everything. You lose your respect, you lose your name, you lose your life.
But why don't you accept that he's been cleared by all the
I don't want to keep going over it, Piers.
But why don't you accept
he got caught with performance enhancing drugs.
So why fight him? Why doesn't say I refuse to fight this guy?
Because this fight is it's unprecedented. It's never happened in the history of boxing. And he's going to fight anyway. That's what happens. People fail drugs tests.
Cleared, no ban. Cleared, no ban, no fine. Oh, of course it matters.
They come back to the ring and they continue on their careers.
You don't have to fight.
I don't have to, but
you've chosen to.
I want to.
So you're fighting, but you won't shake his hand.
He's contradicting. He's an idiot.
People will think there's a contradiction there.
Good. That's okay. I'm an enigma, as they say. Some people don't understand me. I'm not here to be understood. I'm here to set an example, and I'm here to get this kid out of boxing.
Conor, I want to, just before we finish, I want to play a clip from when we did our first interview in here, which was in March 2023, so nearly 2 years ago now, in which you were a very different character. Very different character. I'm very struck by how different you've been today. But let's just take a look.
Why are you trying to label me a cheat?
You're not suing the labs, right?
Well, there is that too. You think manufacturing, manipulating, and concealing evidence? I got an independent scientist to look a report, and that's what we've seen from one of the best labs: manipulation, manufacturing, and concealing evidence. But that wasn't verified by the WBC. What are the WBC going to come out and say?
Well, that's what I mean. You've got to go to the governing body that can actually look at this properly.
It's hard because I want this to be done. I want this to be finished, and I want to resume with my career.
You were very defiant there, but you also, I could tell, you were in the grip of knowing that your whole career may have gone. And you got very emotional later in that interview. And today you seem much more collected, much more confident. You feel like you've got a second chance. You've been through the process. They've allowed you to fight again. Whatever Chris says about constantly calling you a cheat, refusing to believe it, the reality is, if they had concluded you cheated, you wouldn't be allowed to have the fight. That's the reality. How do you feel you've changed in those 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, then it was heightened emotions. I mean, I was a mess. I was a mess. Broken. That's been the hardest fight today for sure, because it's a fight that I've constantly had to fight in my head every day, every waking hour. You know, nightmares about it. It was just, it was a horrific time, and I feel like I'm through that now. It's done. I've done everything in my power I can. You learn to accept what is. I bet £1 million on my innocence. That's what I've done. You know, so for me, it was a matter of, I've done everything I can.
That's an interesting point. I mean, Chris, what more could he have done? I mean, be honest with me, what more could he have done than what he did?
What more?
To state your desire to disprove the fact he cheated, what more could he possibly have done?
What more he could have possibly done is he could have not failed those drugs tests. It's as simple as that. If you fail, you're a cheat for the rest of your life.
But that's not always true, is it?
It's true.
There are a number of sportsmen, male and female, who every year fail drugs tests, but it turns out after they're investigated, it is not proven they did so deliberately, whatever the substance may be, and they're continue performing. So it's not true that everyone who fails tests is automatically a cheat.
In my eyes, if you fail, in my eyes, if someone was to have pinned him down and jabbed the syringe into the side of his ass and squeezed it in, if that had happened and I saw it, he's still a cheat. He shouldn't have let it happen. It's his responsibility to protect himself at all times. He didn't do that, he's a cheat. End of story.
I'll give you one last chance.
Don't ask me again, Piers.
Just shake his hand.
Don't ask me again.
Thank you both for your time, and may the best man win.
He will.
It's going to be one hell of a fight. That I do know. Thank you very much. Well, two fighters, two famous families, one remarkable rivalry. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves on April 26th. Ring Magazine's first ever card. Don't miss it. I know I won't be.
Now, that concludes the interview in its entirety. Kind of got lengthy. Kind of got some cement on the eyelids for a second. But I don't know what he was trying to do. I honestly think that Piers was trying to make something that ain't work, and you don't never do that. Interview got a couple of more. Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, if you look at this now, it's 640,000 20 hours ago. So yeah, it's trending. So yeah, it's going to be people that watch this fight. Definitely are going to watch this fight. And I do think that it's a reckoning. Things have to be done. The fight has to happen, and I'm glad it's happening. You know, I really am. I'm glad that Chris gets an opportunity to take his justice in. Renee Padilla coming in with the first and only super chat of the day. Kurt, out of William Skull's mouth, he said it's disrespectful to me to speak about the fight with Crawford and not wait for the result of our fight on May 3rd. I'm going to surprise the world. If he does, let me tell you something. If William Skull beats Canelo Alvarez, okay? If he beats Canelo Alvarez, that would be Turkey's, fourth strike? So it's crazy, man. It is crazy. But appreciate that super chat, bro. Appreciate that love. That interview, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to get. I think they've honestly calmed down since then. But I'm going to jump off of here, do some more edits. You guys, I'm glad that you checked out the live and whoever came along with me, you know. So I may do the Nick Ball fight, see what time it's going to be, if I could even watch it. But we'll see if I can. But until then, guys, thank you for being here. God bless. And everyone has been counterpunched. Peace!